Imagine this, right? You're trying to get somewhere, maybe rushing the kids to the school gate, or you're at a busy train station, and suddenly you've got to completely change your path because there's like a whole pack of stray dogs blocking the way.
Or maybe you're driving late at night, perhaps, on a highway, and boom, wandering cattle right there in the lanes. It
Yeah.
happens all the time.
Yeah, exactly. That sort of daily friction, between our roads, our public spaces, and, well, the stray animals living alongside us. It's just part of life for millions.
It absolutely is. And the sheer scale. I mean, we're talking an estimated 30 million stray dogs alone in India. Just dogs.
30 million. Wow.
Yeah. So that's 30 million potential run-ins, rabies scares, genuine safety worries every single day. And cities have been trying, often, well, failing to really get a handle on it.
It always felt like this sort of intractable problem, didn't it? Managed by, like you said, these local fixes, a bit of patchwork here and there, nothing consistent.
Exactly. But that all fundamentally shifted on November 7th, 2025. That day, the Supreme Court of India, well, they didn't just offer another suggestion. They laid out a really solid, multi-part blueprint.
A blueprint designed to force compliance, right?
Right.
To actually move this whole national issue away from just chaos towards maybe coexistence.
Precisely. And that's our mission for this deep dive. We want to unpack that specific court order. What are the exact steps, the mandatory things the court demanded? And maybe more importantly, why is this order such a big deal compared to everything that came before? How did the court go from, gentle nudges to these really firm administrative demands that states just can't brush off anymore?
Okay, yeah, let's get into that history because you're right. This tough stance didn't just appear out of nowhere. It built up over months of, well, frustration, really, with states just not doing what they were asked.
Go back to August 2025. Even then, the court was trying to find a balance. They acknowledged the animal birth control program, the ABC approach.
Right, the sterilize and release idea.
Exactly. The court had okayed releasing strays back into their neighborhoods, but only if they were sterilized and vaccinated. That was key.
And they had to be non-aggressive, non-rabid, too, right?
Correct. They were trying to manage the population, but also deal with the immediate public risk. And another big part of that earlier strategy was banning public feeding.
Ah, right. Because feeding them in parks just turns those places into giant dog magnets.
Precisely. It just encourages these huge gatherings, basically unofficial feeding zones that nobody's controlling. But, well, that balanced approach, it clearly wasn't working well enough.
So fast forward a couple of months.
To October 27th, 2025. And you could really feel the court's patience wearing thin. The bench was, the report said, irked because states and union territories were just dragging their heels.
Not filing the compliance reports they'd been asked for.
Nope, or filing them super late. The court actually commented quite sharply on the lack of respect for court orders.
Okay, so it wasn't just slow bureaucracy. It was starting to feel like defiance.
That's how it seemed. It felt like he was moving beyond simple delays towards a real challenge to the court's authority.
And that led to something pretty drastic, didn't it?
It did. It culminated in this, well, extreme ultimatum. The court actually summoned the chief secretaries, the top administrative official from nearly every state and union territory.
Wow.
Yeah. Told them to show up in person by November 3rd. Now, calling in the chief secretary, that's not just asking for a meeting.
No, that's a massive deal. Logistically, politically. What message does that send? They skipped Telangana and West Bengal for that specific date, interestingly.
Well, the message is crystal clear. We're serious now. By summoning them, the court basically put them on notice. Any further noncompliance could easily tip into contempt of court territory.
Which puts those officials personally on the line. Their careers.
Exactly. They even made a sort of dark joke about it, didn't they? Saying if the officials didn't show up, they might need to book an auditorium for the next hearing just to fit everyone in.
Right.
So, yeah, that whole history of noncompliance, that buildup of frustration, it's absolutely crucial. It explains why that November 7th order had to be so detailed, so strict, and just completely non-negotiable.
Okay, so the failure to comply forced their hand. Let's talk about the core of that November 7th order then. What was the absolute central mandate from that three-judge bench? Justice Vikram Nath leading, with Justices Mehta and Anjaria.
The main rule sounds quite straightforward on the surface. It was collect every stray dog, sterilize it, quote, pronto, and then take it straight to a designated shelter. Simple enough, right?
Seems simple, but the catch is in what doesn't happen next.
Precisely. That's the absolute game changer. The bench explicitly stated, no dropping them back where they were found.
Ah, so breaking that cycle.
Totally. This single rule is the paradigm shift. It makes this order completely different from the August guidelines. The court clearly learned that the old system, sterilize, vaccinate, release back, was just, well, a revolving door, a merry-go-round, as they put it.
But why did that fail exactly? If the dogs were sterilized, surely that helps.
It helps, but it doesn't solve the immediate problem on the streets. See, when you release a sterilized dog back, it still needs food, it still takes up space.
Right.
And if a fertile dog wanders in from next door, they breed, you haven't actually stopped the population growth in that specific area long term, and you haven't removed the immediate presence from public spaces.
I see. So this new rural shelter only guarantees that the huge effort and cost of the ABC sterilization program actually leads to fewer dogs on the streets right away.
Exactly. It ensures the shelters aren't just surgical centers, but places for ongoing care or, ideally, rehoming. It changes the whole goal of enforcement.
And they didn't just change the how, they specified the where, too, targeting these high-stakes turf areas.
Yes, they identified these critical pressure points in public life. The list is basically a map of where people feel most anxious about strays. They mandated cleanups in 8 specific types of locations.
Let's list them. Educational institutions,
Hospitals, railway stations, bus stands,
national highways, expressways.
district hospitals, so local healthcare too, and public sports complexes.
That list really hits all the flashpoints, doesn't it? The places you hear about accidents on highways, kids maybe getting scared going into school, hygiene worries around hospitals.
Absolutely. The court systematically pinpointed these zones. Clearing strays from there isn't just about making things tidier, it's about basic public safety, restoring access and reducing risk across the country's vital infrastructure.
And this wasn't just about dogs, was it? The ruling had a broader scope.
That's right. It also picked up on and strengthened a directive from back in 2023 from the Rajasthan High Court originally, making sure stray cattle and other roaming animals were also included.
Especially on those highways and major roads.
Exactly. So it's a comprehensive approach. Not just canines, but the whole category of animals causing disruption. And specifically for cattle, the mandate includes care in proper shelters, the gaushalas.
Okay, so broader scope. And who's responsible for actually doing this? Especially on the highways.
Well, they put specific bodies on the hook. The National Highways Authority of India, NHAI, the agency running those major roads, they got direct orders.
What did he have to do?
They have to team up with local municipalities, work together on mandatory joint sweeps along the highways. Their job is to find those specific danger zones where animals are roaming and causing accidents and deal with them.
So clear responsibilities. But the real teeth of this order, you were saying, is the compliance part, the administrative hammer.
Oh, absolutely. The court left zero room for doubt. States and union territories have to move fast. They got exactly 8 weeks, just 8 weeks to file sworn affidavits.
Sworn affidavits detailing what?
Their entire plan. How they're going to build or designate shelters, staff them, fund them, schedule the sterilizations, the whole works. 8 weeks is an incredibly tight deadline for that kind of planning in government.
And who's accountable if they miss it?
The chief secretaries. Personally, we talked about them being summoned. Well, now they're personally responsible for delivering these plans. The court explicitly said any delay or lack of seriousness would be viewed seriously.
So it shifts from just a government department task to a personal career risk for the top official.
Precisely. It's no longer a suggestion. It's a direct personal administrative liability.
But let's be realistic for a second. Can the entire country actually build the infrastructure, find the resources to collect potentially millions of dogs and house them in shelters within weeks or even months? Where does the funding for something this massive come from?
That is the massive question, isn't it? The funding, the capacity, it's enormous.
Yeah.
But the court tried to preempt excuses, at least for government-run institutions, by setting an even tighter timeline for them.
Okay, what was that?
For places like government hospitals, schools, etc. They had 2 weeks just to map out their precise boundaries.
2 weeks for a map. Okay.
Then after the mapping, they got just 6 weeks flat to properly fence those boundaries, secure the perimeter. No gaps for animals to sneak in.
6 weeks to fence potentially huge areas. Wow.
And to make sure it happens, each institution has to appoint a specific nodal officer, basically an internal compliance watchdog.
Okay. And what about strays that might still gather nearby, outside the fence?
Good point. The court thought of that too. Municipal teams are required to do regular scheduled sweeps around these institutions to clear out any makeshift dens or gathering spots that pop up. Keep the immediate surroundings clear, too.
This level of detail is incredible. It's not just a broad directive, it's almost like an operational manual.
It really is, and it's partly because the court leaned heavily on a detailed report that had already been prepared by the amicus curiae, the friend of the court, who provides expert advice.
Ah, so they incorporated that expert input directly.
Yes. That report's recommendations are now essentially baked into the binding court order. This takes past suggestions and turns them into mandatory national actions. It forces the central government's directive down to the local level, making sure everyone's involved, replacing those old, ineffective local fixes with a single, coordinated plan.
Okay, let's talk impact. On the ground, what does this mean for people, for animals? Let's start with the human side.
Well, the immediate hope is safer streets, safer sidewalks for kids walking to school, less fear for patients going into hospitals, fewer bites, fewer scary encounters,
In the roads.
and definitely fewer of those absolutely awful accidents on highways caused by wandering cattle or dogs.
Yeah.
A potential sharp drop in those incidents is a major goal.
Okay, so clear benefits for public safety and just, well, daily life. What about the animals themselves? Is this humane?
That's a key part of the argument. From an animal welfare perspective, it's presented as a humane pivot. Aggressively sterilizing curbs the endless cycle of breeding and suffering.
Right. Fewer unwanted litters.
And moving them to designated shelters means, in theory, they get reliable food, water, and vet care, instead of fighting over scraps and facing potential cruelty on the streets. So it aims for both public safety and a more compassionate outcome for the animals.
But the sheer scale, building and running enough shelters, ensuring they're well managed, that's the massive challenge, surely.
It's the challenge, the infrastructure, the staffing, the long-term funding. It's a monumental undertaking. The country is definitely watching to see if states can actually deliver on this plan.
Or if we'll see more summonses down the line.
We won't have to wait too long to find out. The court set the next check-in date, January 13th, 2026. That's when they'll be scrutinizing those progress reports and affidavits very closely.
So the Supreme Court has effectively laid down this detailed blueprint trying to create coexistence in India's busy urban spaces. But like you said, the really hard part isn't just the initial clearing of the streets.
No, the true test is the long game. Can the shelter system be built sustainably? Can it be run humanely and effectively? Can the sterilization programs keep up?
Because that's what it demands, isn't it? A fundamental reorganization of how public space and animal welfare are managed nationwide.
It really is. A complete overhaul.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? About the sheer amount of administrative effort, public money, and frankly, public buy-in required for an entire nation to successfully and humanely reshuffle the pack like this. Something to keep watching.
Definitely. Keep diving deep into the knowledge you gain, and we'll be here tracking these crucial developments.